you for the gift of wisdom that we might determine the most appropriate response to what we are faced with. We ask for guidance as we face the closing portion of this year. Help us to accomplish our goals. Help us to carry out our tasks as legislators and as citizens of this country. Bless us with unity of purpose. Bless us with tolerance without sacrificing moral principles. Bless us with forgiveness as we also ask for the strength to forgive. And we ask for a special blessing for our Majority Floor Leader who celebrates his birthday today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Before we call the roll, we declare a 1-minute recess to greet our Majority Leader a happy birthday. 1-minute recess.
Nagalit si Sunny na binati mo. Sabi sa akin, nakita ko yun. Doesn't look at all.
Session is resumed. The Secretary will call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan Peter, Compañero S, Cayetano Pia S, Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Onasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Trilon.
17 senators are present. The Chair declares the presence of a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the greetings of our colleagues. Mr. President, may I also inform the body that on October 25, it was the birthday of Leon Guerrero, otherwise known as Senator Lito Lapid. No? But since it was a weekend, we were not able to also greet him. So may we also greet him a happy birthday.
The blowout need not be on the weekend.
Yes.
Mr. President.
He will be importing sisig and other goods when we come back from the holidays, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Senator Soto.
Thank you, Mr. President. We just like, on the behalf of the minority, would like to greet Senator Alan Cayetano and Senator Lito Lapid. Happy birthday. That explains the cake that I saw in the lounge. I thought it was baked by Nancy Binay, Mr. President.
On that note, Mr. President, I'd like to thank Senator Nancy for greeting me personally. That just proves that despite our disagreements, pareho kaming hindi sensitive. So, thank you very much, Senator, for the greeting. Sir President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 29th session, October 27, 2014, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Hearing none. Carried.
Sir President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
The Secretary will read the reference of business.
Message of the President of the Philippines. Letter of His Excellency President Benigno Aquino III, certifying to the necessity of the immediate enactment of House Number 4968 entitled An Act Appropriating Funds for the Operation of the Government of the Republic of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2015, and for other purposes to ensure budgetary preparedness that will enable the government to effectively perform its constitutional mandate of funding various programs, projects, and activities for fiscal year 2015, and in order to address the need to maintain continuous government operations following the end of the current year.
To the Committee on Rules.
Bill on first reading, Senate number 2438, entitled An Act Requiring Banks and Other Financial Institutions to Undertake Measures to Prevent Money Laundering of Ill-Gotten Wealth by Politically Exposed Persons, introduced by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies, Justice and Human Rights.
Resolution, Senate Joint Resolution number 11, entitled Joint Resolution Terminating the Visiting Forces Agreement due to acts committed by United States military personnel in the country that are contrary to the Constitution, human rights standards, criminal statutes and norms, and standards concerning the protection and preservation of the environment, and directing the Secretary of Foreign Affairs to serve notice of termination to the United States by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Committee on Foreign Relations.
PS Resolution number 983, calling on the appropriate Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation regarding the delayed rehabilitation in the province of Bohol, and to consider its detrimental effects to the lives of our less fortunate and low-income families residing in the affected areas, by Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy S. Binay.
Local Government.
Committee reports. Committee report number 85, submitted jointly by the Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation and National Defense and Security, on Senate number 886, introduced by Senator Ejercito Estrada, entitled An Act to Define the Role of the Armed Forces of the Philippines during elections, recommending its approval with amendments. Sponsor, Senators Pimentel III and Trillanes IV.
Ordinary Business.
Committee report number 86, submitted jointly by the Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Civil Service and Government Reorganization, on House number 4660, introduced by Representative Rodriguez et al., entitled An Act providing for 30 days judicial leave privileges annually to all judges of the Metropolitan Trial Courts, Municipal Trial Courts in cities, Municipal Trial Courts, Municipal Circuit Trial Courts, and Sharia Circuit Courts, recommending its approval without amendment. Sponsors, Senators Pimentel III, Ligarda, and Soto III.
To the calendar for ordinary business. 1 minute suspension.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer House Bill number 4660 under Committee Report number 86 from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
Any objection? Hearing none, so transferred.
Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 4660 under Committee Report number 86.
Consideration of the measure is in order.
With the permission of the body, I move that the Secretary read only the title of the said measure.
Secretary will do so.
House Bill number 4660, an act providing for 30 days judicial leave of the Metropolitan Trial Courts, Municipal Trial Courts in cities, Municipal Trial Courts, Municipal Circuit Trial Courts, and Sharia Circuit Courts.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize Senator Pimentel to sponsor the measure.
Senator Pimentel is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Mr. President, my dear colleagues, as Chairman of the Committee on Justice and Human Rights, this representation humbly submits before this august chamber for consideration Committee Report number 86 entitled An Act Providing Additional 15 Days Sick Leave and 15 Days Vacation Leave Annually to all judges of the Metropolitan Trial Courts, Municipal Trial Courts, Municipal Trial Courts in cities, Municipal Circuit Trial Courts, and Sharia Circuit Courts. First-level magistrates experience the heaviest caseload because it is before their courts that the most common actions are originally commenced. The high demands of their office require first-level judges to devote more than 8 hours a day at work, spent either within or even outside the confines of their courtrooms, hearing cases, or inside their chambers drafting and preparing their decisions. This stringent work environment naturally would take a toll on the judge's physical, mental, and even emotional well-being. Thus, it is only proper for the state to intervene and provide measures that would safeguard their health. Accordingly, it is proposed that judges of the first-level courts, namely the Metropolitan Trial Courts, Municipal Trial Courts, Municipal Trial Courts in cities, Municipal Circuit Trial Courts, and Sharia Circuit Courts, be granted an additional 15 days sick leave and another 15 days vacation leave, which they can use for respite and for other equally urgent personal concerns. More important, the grant of this additional benefit will place our first-level judges on the same footing with judges of the regional trial courts and Sharia district courts, and thus achieve uniformity among all judges in the lower courts in terms of leave entitlements. It is our hope that once recharged from this break, all our judges will be able to devote better quality time and more energy into the resolution of issues and cases, thereby contributing to the speedy disposition of controversies, which is a right enshrined in our Constitution. Hence, this representation humbly asks for the approval of this bill. Thank you very much, Mr. President and dear colleagues.
Thank you, Senator Pimentel.
Mr. President, Senator Legarda will deliver co-sponsorship speech.
Senator Legarda is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Vice Chair of the Committee on Justice and with the permission of the Chair, Senator Pimentel, I wish to co-sponsor the measure. Based on an Asian Development Bank report on the Philippine justice sector, one of the significant challenges affecting the speedy administration of justice and disposition of court cases in the country is a high vacancy rates in the judiciary. The passage of Republic Act 9227 in 2003, which authorizes a 100% raise in compensation for judges, has only temporarily halted a further rise in vacancy rates. From the more than 30% vacancy rate in the judiciary in 2004, we saw a decline to 19.7 by year end of 2007. The vacancies again increased to 22.7% in 2008. Filling up these vacancies is made more difficult by the stringent constitutionally mandated screening of judicial appointees. It is on this note that I express my support for the passage of this bill, which I wish to co-sponsor today, House Bill 4660 under Committee Report number 86. This bill seeks to provide 30 days judicial leave with pay in addition to the 15 days vacation leave and 15 days sick leave already provided for by law for our presiding judges in first-level courts. We note that this privilege is currently being enjoyed by judges of courts of general jurisdiction or the regional trial courts and the appellate courts. By raising the non-monetary benefits provided for our judges, we wish to somehow alleviate the burden of our existing judges with their presently heavy workload. We hope to be able to attract many more to heed the call for public service and discharge a most significant function, that of dispensing justice. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Ligarda. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we open the period of interpellation. And Senator Pia to interpellate, Mr. President.
Senator Pia Cayetano is recognized on the period of interpellation.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the permission of the sponsor, I would just like to add some of my observations into the record and also ask some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
With
you.
pleasure.
Mr. President, may we be educated on whether this proposed measure is part of a bigger plan in terms of making the judicial service a more enticing career for lawyers? Is it part of a master plan to rehabilitate the judicial system? I'm just curious, no, because it is basically a very simple measure.
Yes.
And our colleague who delivered a co-sponsorship speech included a interesting history about the salary increases, how it had for a short while resuscitated the judicial service in terms of recruitment of young practitioners, but then it dipped again later on. So we'd just like to hear from the sponsor if there are other pending measures in the committee that address this shortage of judges.
There are many measures, Mr. President, pending in the Committee on Justice and Human Rights aimed at improving our justice system. There are some measures about the JBC, improving the structure of the JBC, improving our appointment system that once appointed into the judiciary as a qualified RTC judge or a first-level judge, then it is like a pool that if you are to be transferred to another RTC, you don't need to reapply with the JBC. So all of these proposals are all aimed at improving our justice system. This may be simple or small or incremental measures, but they are all towards the same direction in improving our justice system. Plus, of course, there are many proposals actually coming from the House of Representatives providing for additional courts all over our country. But since the idea of giving our judges and justices leaves is already an accepted practice or idea, this simple measure actually just equalizes the entitlement or the standing of our first-level judges with the RTC judges. They pointed out to the committee that although, of course, the jurisdiction of the RTC is different from the MTC, But if you look at the caseloads, sometimes there are first-level courts with more caseload than RTC courts. So, and they are actually doing the same job, hearing cases, weighing claims, deciding on rights, providing relief for grievances. So they were asking that since they're doing the same work, although they're just called first-level courts, if they could also be given the same benefits as those enjoyed by RTC judges. So, and they noticed that they noticed that RTC judges enjoy 30 days more leave entitlements than first-level judges.
Is there a difference between judicial leave and vacation leave? I mean, are they required to perform any type of function during that 30-day judicial leave that is basically the main feature of this measure?
Actually, the measure gives a name to the leave that it is granting. It's called judicial leave. But in all honesty, I do not like the name because it does not tell us from the name what is the leave for. That's why from the title, it's an additional 15 days sick leave and additional 15 days vacation leave. So
Sorry, so
15 plus 15, that is now the 30-day judicial leave.
wait, sorry, Mr. President, I am confused. If I may be allowed to read this aloud. So the following court shall be entitled annually to 30 days judicial leave with pay, in addition to the 15-day vacation leave and 15-day sick leave privileges provided by law. So it's an additional 30-day judicial leave, correct?
Yes.
In addition
yes,
to
Mr.
the
President.
15 plus 15.
Yes.
Yes, and His Honor pointed out that he is a little bit uncomfortable because what does that mean, judicial leave?
What is that for?
Would he be amenable? Because I am too. I mean, if it's a vacation leave, call it a vacation
Yes,
leave.
ma'am.
I will put on record that I have absolutely no problem with setting a standard where we work hard and then we be given, government officials be given the corresponding rest period they need to rejuvenate themselves. No, we've had this discussion. I've had this discussion in the various state universities and colleges that I sit in with respect to sabbaticals and all kinds of leaves. And
Wellness. There's even a wellness
exactly.
leave. Yeah.
And I am all for it. I have no problem at all. In fact, I would like government, in the same way that I hope to introduce before my term ends, additional maternity leave, because I do believe, and if this will be met with resistance as it was some 8 years or so ago when I first was considering this in my early days as a senator, if this will be met with resistance by the private sector, because of course that is a cost to them in the sense that an employee would be on leave for a longer period of time, then I feel that government should initiate it. And the reason why I feel this way is because I want government positions to be a position that people aspire for. It may be not the best or the highest in terms of compensation, but the benefits should be good. No, like in other countries, I have friends who have migrated, and their dream is to work in the U.S. Post Office, in the U.S. Whatever municipal government, because of the health benefits, because of the leave, because it's a quality of life. It's your time with your family. It's your time to again rejuvenate yourself, especially if you're either in a physically taxing or a mentally taxing job. So I have no problem with that. Let's put it on record. But would His Honor be amenable, perhaps in the time of the period of period of amendment, to consider another term? If it's vacation
Yes.
leave, additional vacation leave, let's call it what it is. No, because when you said judicial leave, I thought it would be like the leaves that I see in the state colleges where they're actually going to study. You know, it's
No.
So
Yeah.
let's make it clear.
This
Or
is
I thought,
actually to help them recharge,
Exactly.
take a break from work.
so if you want
and-
to call it wellness
Yes.
leave, I don't mind. No, but let's just call it. Let's be clearer about what it is. And I've always felt strongly that we should be at the forefront of transparency. Let's not pretend to call it something na
Right.
kunyari nagtatrabaho. Because for me, as an athlete, they always remind us that rest is as important as training. And the same with your mind. To rejuvenate yourself is as important as the hours you put in working. His Honor, I'm sure, has similar memories as I do as a law student, that you cannot just keep studying and working all day. The bar exams have just finished, and we know very well that the key there is pacing yourself.
Right.
So it's the same thing with to be able to have good output as a judge. You need to pace yourself. And I would like to put one more thing on record. It has come to my attention, not by data, but just by stories that have been shared with me, that a lot of those who take on these positions as a municipal, what do you call them, first level?
First level judges. Yeah.
First level
courts,
judges are young lawyers who are starting their families also. So more reason I would be supportive, because I would love for these young mothers to continue having a career and to continue pursuing their legal career. And third, to serve government. And so I would want these positions to be mother-friendly, family-friendly. And I am not talking about maternity leave, because that's different. I'm just talking about the opportunity, like you said, wellness, to rejuvenate yourself, and to be with your family. So I fully support this measure, Mr. President, with the caveat that we look into a better terminology.
I fully agree, Mr. President, with the manifestation of the good lady senator, because if we grant them something, we grant a leave with another name, then the other judges who do not enjoy such a leave with that name will now ask for the equalization of benefits. So we have to be very, very careful. But the objective of this measure is to equalize the standing of first level judges with RTC judges. So
I think we can make that
in the period of amendments, we will go over the leave entitlements of RTC judges, and let's just pattern this measure to that, so that we achieve the purpose of equalizing their standing.
And in the event, and I'm not familiar with what the term is called with the other judges, if the term is also misleading, although we cannot through this measure amend that law that created those leaves, we can still clarify it so that we do not perpetuate a misleading terminology.
Because the mistake will feed upon itself. Because the other group of judges will demand that kind of a leave.
But if in principle we will make it clear that this is the same kind of leave, except that for accuracy we are calling it a different name, then I think that would be better.
For the record, this measure is meant to equalize the leave entitlements of first level judges with the RTC judges.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. May we have a minute suspension?
All right. The majority leader is recognized. Suspended for 1 minute.
Resumed. Mr. President, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 4660 under Committee Report number 86.
Suspended. Consideration measure is suspended.
Mr. President, may we acknowledge the presence and recognize the third-year students of Bachelor of Science in Accounting and Bachelor of Science in Accounting Technology from the University of San Carlos, Cebu City, headed by Mr. Richie Tejana. May I ask them to rise to be recognized?
The presence of the students of the University of San Carlos of Cebu City, headed by Richie Tejana is made of record in our session today. We welcome you all to the Senate.
Mr. President, we also have the international studies students from Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan. May we also ask them to rise to be recognized?
The Senate makes of record for this afternoon's session the presence of the students of the University of Santo Tomas with their professors Oliver Custodio and Ronald Castillo. Welcome to the Senate.
Mr. President, we have political science students from the University of Santo Tomas, as you mentioned also. No? May we also have them to rise? No?
Okay. The political science students of the University of Santo Tomas. So you're welcome to the Senate, and your presence is reflected in the records of the Senate for today's session. Welcome.
Mr. President, Director Carlos Buesel, Mr. Ray Dingal, and Mary Grace Buesel, of the National Commission for Indigenous People, are also here with us today.
We welcome and make of record the presence of Director Carlos Bausen, Mr. Ray Dangal, and Mr. Grace Buasen of the NCIP.
For the Philippine Statistics Authority, Mr. Raul Ludice is also here with us today, Mr. President.
Welcome to the Senate, Mr. Lodovice of the Philippine Statistics Authority.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we resume...
Before that, are there also students from the Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan?
Yes, Mr. President.
We also acknowledge...
May you rise again to be recognized.
Okay. Thank you, and welcome to the Senate. Please proceed, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we resume consideration of Senate Bill number 2426 under Committee Report number 81. This is the Ethnic Origin Bill, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of the measure is in order. Senate Bill number 2426 under Committee Report 81.
Mr. President, I move that we open the period of interpellation.
The period of interpellation is in order.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize the sponsor, Senator Legarda.
Senator Legarda is recognized. For the period of interpellation. Yes. Is there any colleague of ours who has reserved the period of interpellation?
Mr. President, I was informed that there's no senators who want to ask questions, so I move that we close the period of interpellation.
The period for interpellation is terminated.
I'm informed that there are committee amendments. Therefore, I move that we open the period for committee amendments.
The period for committee amendments is in order. The sponsor is recognized to introduce the committee amendments.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. May I introduce the committee amendments on Senate Bill 2426?
Yes, you have been previously recognized on that point.
Page 1, line 13.
Please proceed.
After the word self-inscription, insert the phrase and ascription to read as follows. B, indigenous peoples or indigenous cultural communities shall, as provided under Section 3H of Chapter 2 of RA 8371, or the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act of 1997, refer to a group of people or homogeneous societies identified by self-ascription and ascription by others. I submit, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none.
On page 2, line 7, after the word "of," insert the phrase "additional IP qualified." Close quotation. On the same page, line 8, insert the word "qualified" before the term NCIP to read as follows. It shall be the duty of the Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, in coordination with the National Commission on Indigenous People, NCIP, to ensure the employment of additional IP qualified enumerators or the deployment of qualified NCIP employees who are knowledgeable of the different IPs and ICCs of the Philippines. I submit.
Approved.
That's all, Mr. President, for the committee amendments.
All right.
Mr.
Majority
President,
Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we close the period for committee amendments.
Period for committee amendments terminated.
I'm sorry.
May I ask for a minute suspension, Mr. President?
Maybe for
A minute suspension, Mr. President.
it's 1 minute suspension.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Senator Soto, Mr. President.
Senator Soto, on the period of individual amendments, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. After explanation by the sponsor and author, Senator Legarda, and with the support of the majority leader, I withdraw any individual amendments that I was supposed to introduce. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr.
Thank
President,
you, Senator Soto.
there are no other senators who manifested their intention to propose individual amendments, so I move that we close the period for individual amendments.
Period for individual amendments is terminated.
Mr. President, I move that we approve on second reading Senate Bill number 2426 under Committee Report number 81.
Any objection? Hearing none. Senate Bill number 2426 under Committee Report number 81 is approved on second reading.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 2426 under Committee Report number 81.
Consideration of the measure is suspended. 1 minute suspension. Session is resumed.
Mr. President, in line with the membership of the Legislative Oversight Committee on Visiting Forces Agreement, I move to designate Senator Lauren Legarda as an additional member and representative of the majority in the said Oversight Committee.
Senator Legarda is so designated.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Wednesday, October 29, 2014.
Session is adjourned until 3 p.m. of Wednesday, October 29, 2014.